What's it going to be?
What is up, Profitable Stylist? Here we go this week. We are talking about consultations. It is the most important thing to being a profitable stylist. It will literally make or break your entire service. You're probably doing it wrong, or you're probably not realizing what you're missing when you're doing it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. This week, I got John with me. Thanks, John, for joining me.
Hey, what's going on?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. So there's a lot of, what is your opinion of consultations before we get deep into this?
Personally, I think consultation is the most important part of the service and for the experience of the client. Touching base with them, first off, even if I have consultations with my clients that have been seeing me for over 20 years. Every time they sit down in my chair, it's not just, hey, how are you? We doing the same thing. Okay, be right back. Blah, 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 blah. Because I like to develop a plan for my clients. Actually, I stole a page from your book many years ago where a lot of my clients do their different seasonal colors. That was something that I picked up off of you. And it's worked really well for me. I think the biggest part of really is with that consultation is you're actually connecting with your client. You're having that conversation. You're taking the time, because too many people, and I used to work in a very large salon, and we used to go round and round with a lot of the older stylists where the client would sit in their chair and it was the same thing over and over again, same thing over and over again. That's boring. It's boring. And even if it's something simple like, you know what, maybe we should put like 6 highlights in the front, or just to give you a different look. I'm using color as an example. I think that really shows that you're interested in your client and your client is interested in you. And that helps you also manage expectations with your client, right?
Absolutely. These are the things we're going to break it down. Today's discussion is going to be like this. Why consultations matter, whether you're new, whether you've been in the business for a while, or whether you've been in the business for a long time. Why does it matter? What are the mistakes that are made from people who are just starting off and people that have been in it for a while too? Because I think it becomes one and the same without realizing it.
Right.
And then we also got to talk about the psychology of what it takes to do a proper consultation, why it matters, and how it can completely put you in complete control of the situation. Am I missing anything before we get into this?
I don't think so. I think you did a nice broad brush stroke across. I think that was nice.
So then why do consultations matter?
Is that a question to me or a question to
it's a question to everybody. Why do consultations matter? Okay, first of all, what even is a consultation? And when is it performed? When is it being done?
The way I was trained and the way I always do it is as soon as you get your client in the chair, you sit them down, you make them feel comfortable, and then immediately you go right into the consultation. And the biggest part really with consultation is really getting that eye contact with your client, whether it's through the mirror or I've seen another thing I picked up off of you, is actually spinning them around, lowering yourself to make sure that you're at eye level with them. I think that you're establishing, like I said earlier, you're establishing that initial point of contact with your client, which helps them relax more in your chair. You're going to get more information out of them. And it is the beginning of the service.
I agree that's 100% accurate. When you're starting the service, when they're in your chair, that's when the full-blown consultation begins. Is a consultation just not happening every second though, all the time, no matter where you are?
That 100%. 100%.
So it's a great, well, I'm not discounting what you're saying, right? The difference between being good, the difference between being great, and as far as being profitable goes, you are always in consultation mode. From the second you engage in a conversation with anybody, you are in consultation mode. You are always giving advice. You are always fielding questions. You are always trying to discover what it is that you want to get out of engaging with somebody, or you are trying to figure out what they are trying to get, and you're negotiating with somebody.
True.
Just a simple, hey,
True.
are you hungry? Is the most trap question ever. What's for dinner, right? And we do this all the time. What do you want for dinner? I don't care, you choose. Okay, I want spaghetti. No.
Right.
I want dessert first before dinner. No, you got to have dinner first. So when you're doing a consultation, it's all about the exchange with the person you're with, and it becomes very, very psychological. The thing about when, as it pertains to us, when you have your client, especially sitting in your chair, we have to back up. It's not a matter of this. Okay. Is it a matter of discovering what they want? Is that really what the consultation is about? Discovering what they want done to their hair? What is your opinion on that before I say my say?
I'm going to have to tear that apart a little bit on you.
Yeah.
Because what they want, because as we well know, anybody watching and you and I know, is that what they want and what they get are all most of the time two different things. But I think that finding out their wants, and then part of it is also finding out their needs. And that's a big difference. Want and need, right?
Why
And
are they in the chair?
why are they in the chair? Okay, sure. I'll give you a for instance. This morning, 5:30 this morning, I was in the gym, and I get a text message from a client with this picture. Hey, I'm coming in at 12:30, and I'm really thinking about this color at 5:30 in the morning. So actually, the consultation now with these things is nonstop. Or hey, I was, you get a quick message. Hey, I was thinking about, what do you think about extensions? And so, but to back up what you were saying, I really think that their wants and their needs are usually not aligned, and you have to find a way to align that need with their wants. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
No, you
When
can
it's
have your say.
when it's chasing after the why really is the most important thing. The needs. What does the client need? And why do they need it? Okay. Everybody wants something. You can't always get what you want. It's a famous song. It's a great song, but sometimes you get what you need. And that's what this is really about. When you are a new stylist, don't get trapped in the first thing a client says. The first thing somebody says is never the real thing of what they're saying. Usually, the first thing somebody says is either a fishing line. They're trying to see, they may not know exactly what they're trying to say, but they're just throwing something out there to see what sticks. Or it's to test the waters to see how far they can push, before they get some pushback.
Right.
That usually the first thing somebody says is not the real thing. And I know I reference that Dr. House show all the time on here, but everybody lies. They may say, they really, really want this, but it's not. They really want something else. They're just saying they want that is because they have the intention of impressing somebody else or something else.
Right.
They don't really, really want that. Okay. So if you're a new stylist, don't get trapped in that. Now, if you're an experienced stylist, you probably don't care what they say because you're just like, it doesn't matter what you want. This is what we're doing because this is what your hair needs. And yes, your experience will exude that confidence. Your experience will exude that dictatorship over the control over that appointment. But sometimes you forget. Yes, it's good to be large and in charge, but at what cost? You're sacrificing the client's, mental well-being for that
Right.
matter.
Right.
You're browbeating them into submission without even realizing that you're doing it.
Right.
So that also plays against us when we're so experienced, when we've been in the business for so long, that we just completely discount anything the client says. I'll give that example from a parental example. Your kid comes up to you and says, daddy, check this out. Look at this. And you're like, yeah. You showed me that 100 times already. Come on, go away. That dismissiveness, it builds up, and it's not healthy. That's not a good way. Okay. No. So our clients are more sensitive than we realize. They may not show it outwardly, but internally it's a struggle. Okay. And the client is ultimately there. And I say this all the time. Your client is coming in to feel good, to feel better about themselves.
Exactly.
And that's really what this is all about. This is a service that we're providing.
Right.
So that's the why. So now, what are some of the traps that you have observed? Because I know, you and I have trained a lot of stylists over the years on the art of consultations. What are some of the traps that you see, especially a new stylist, fall into that prevents them from becoming profitable? You just completely. How I mean is, you like when you're observing the consultation, you're like, oh man, this ticket could be built up so many different ways, and you can have that client return for life, versus, ooh, you went like that. Ah, man, you're lucky if that client comes back.
I see there's so it's such a on a it's a situational basis, because really watching the situation as it unfolds. But the biggest one that makes me crazy is overpromising and underdelivering.
Okay.
I witnessed this not that long ago. A young stylist doing a consultation, and this woman came in, and they're talking. She's doing a consultation, and the woman is basically like a level 6. Let's just call it a level 6, and she wants to be level 10. She wants to be a level 10 blonde, and she's showing her pictures of all of these crystal clear blondes, and from afar, looking at the hair, you can tell the hair's been colored. Okay, that's not happening in one step. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how good a product it is, okay, that you use. It's not going to happen. And the girl and the young woman was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And this is what she says. She says, well, we may have to tone it.
That magical word. The toner.
So, and she goes, okay, let's go get started. I'm watching her. She drapes the lady, and she goes into the back room to mix. And I just kind of amble my way into the back room, and I'm like, what are you using? And she's like, well, I was going to use this product, and 20 volume. And I'm like, okay. I go, how many levels of color do you think you're going to get off that hair? I mean, you didn't ask her how long she's been coloring her hair. Was it professionally colored? I go, there's a whole list of questions that you should have covered with this lady. I said, because you're going to make orange hair. And she's like, well, no, because I'm putting this additive in so I can leave it longer. I went, okay. I was just trying to help, and it became glaringly obvious that it was not my circus, not my monkeys. Okay. So I wandered away, went and did my client, and actually I did 2 clients, and come back. And the lady has a plastic cap on, and she's under the dryer.
2 clients later for you in that time, she was sitting like normal, processing during that time.
So the girl comes up and she goes, yeah, I had to reapply. So I just, I took what was left in my bowl and I ran it through, but the point is in that initial consultation, and you can tell this lady now 2 hours later is aggravated.
The client.
The client. She's sitting under, you can just read the look on her face, and we're having this conversation off to the side because I would never undermine anybody in front of a client. And I'm like, yeah, she goes, but I think, I'll tone it and it'll be okay. I never want, me personally, and I know you, and most of you guys, I mean, we do this to make a living. We do this to be profitable, hence Profitable Stylist. I never want to do just an okay service. The word okay does not exist in my vocabulary, especially in the salon. And the fact that because she is not, and the girl's sweating, you can just see she's like this close to being panicked, right? I mean, we've all been there. But once again, she overpromised and underdelivered. And yeah, she toned the lady, and it was
passable.
It was passable. Yeah, passable. And then I hear her say,
that's my new word now with toning. It's passable.
Well, and then and so I was toddling by and I hear her say, well, next time we'll do your base and then we're going to do some highlights and we're going to brighten everything up. Okay. In your initial conversation, why were you not talking about all of these things? No, it was hurry up, let's go. And I'm overpromising and I'm going to underdeliver. And just go in the back and say a prayer to the, to the hair gods and pray that it comes out. There's some, it mystifies me. A lot of that aggravation that was on that client's face could have been mitigated and or managed with a proper consultation, with explaining what this is going to take. And I'm just using this as an example. I mean, I guarantee you, in a haircut, an inch to a client and an inch to you and me are two different things. Am I wrong?
I love those videos where they hand somebody a tape measure and they say, pull an inch.
I have a tape measure in my station. I have it also because for extension work and stuff like that. But also I have a tape measure and I will go and I'll pull it out when I had a client come in. She wanted 2 inches off. Okay. Now 2 inches to you and me and 2 inches to her
is this much. 2 inches is this much. To the client, 2 inches is this much.
So I pull out 2 inches. I click. That's a little tape measure, and I click it, and I'm like, okay, now this is 2 inches, and I held it up to the hair. Now this is all of 30 seconds to do this, if that, right? And she goes, "Oh no!"
The whole thing with asking how many inches, and I've heard the arguments. There's styling combs that have the tick marks on them. So you could be using a 6-inch comb, an 8-inch comb, a 12-inch comb. Like there's no excuse. You should know your measurements and stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. Look, why are we all stuck on how long the hair is supposed to be, how many inches the hair is supposed to be? Because let me tell you this way, and if anybody does hair extensions, you'll appreciate this even more. But if you don't do hair extensions, then understand this is my argument. Depending on the size of the person and the length of their torso, how long doesn't matter. 18 inches on one person looks like 12 on somebody else. It's the difference between looking like Cousin It from the Addams Family or looking like, I don't know, so something cute and appealing and appeasing to somebody. All right. If you are 5'3", if you're 5'5" or shorter, 18-inch long hair is almost to your navel. It's to your rib cage. It's well below your chest. Okay. That is a lot of hair to be playing with. And if you're a 6 foot tall, woman, 18 inches is basically bra strap, possibly a little bit shorter.
Oh, yeah.
It also depends on what size you are, like how developed your chest area is,
How long their neck is. Yeah.
and how long your neck is, and and everything else. So this whole thing about, I need to be this many inches long is such an insane conversation to me personally, and that's my opinion. I would rather ask, depending on each individual person, where on your body do you want this length to lay? And why are you trying to do that? Again, I will keep repeating it. It's psychological. Everything comes down to be psychological. Some people are trying to cover up their face. They want all the hair in their face because they don't like the way they look. Maybe they have dimple, maybe they have pimple, maybe they have scar, maybe they have chubby cheek. I don't know what the hell somebody got, but everybody got their thing. And they're like, I want to cover up my face. Well, guess what? If you're trying to hide your face, you shouldn't have hair in your face. You should have hair away from your face because you're only drawing attention to this. This is all you can see. By having long hair, because you're trying to cover everything up, then the only skin you're showing is your stomach area. Is that really where you want people to be staring at? Because if you're embarrassed from up here, then you're just showing them down here. And when I point that out to people, 10 out of 10 times, they're like, oh my God, no. That is the complete opposite of what I'm trying to accomplish.
Right.
And it's like,
right.
Yeah, I understand.
Right.
I understand.
Right.
All right. So that's the whole thing about the length and the inches. Let's play from start to finish.
No.
Somebody walks in. Okay. So now, whether you're in a salon and you have front desk support or you're a studio owner yourself, it doesn't matter. From the moment it is now your time to greet the client who has come into the salon, into your space. How do you start that greeting? Whether it's a new client or an existing client, what is the difference? You still got to greet the person. So how do you what is the best practice to greet that person?
For me, it's always eye contact and a smile. It starts with eye contact and a smile. If it's a new client, I'll shake her. I shake my client's hand. If it's one of my existing clients, it's always acknowledging them, acknowledging that they're here with me, thanking them. Hey, great to see you. I'm so happy you came in. Something that simple. But it's always eye contact, a smile. A smile goes a long way, guys. Smile at someone, and especially someone that is here to see you, you'll get a smile back. And that sets it up here. See, look. Yeah.
With an existing client, do you embrace them? Do you give them a hug? Do you?
I'm not a hugger. It's always, I'm always, hey, great to see you. I have some clients that give me a hug, and I hug back. I just, I'm not a hugger. I just, I think it's because I'm used to, anytime I stand close to my wife, she's like, get away from me.
That's a goofball. But yeah, that interaction, that friendly interaction really matters. You are acknowledging somebody exists. It's way better than, hey, come on back. And you're yelling, hey, come on back, come on over. And you're just kind of doing this waving thing at them.
No, I will step away. If I'm working on someone and someone shows up, I will I'll go, excuse me for a second. Hey, hi, Denise. Hey, how are you? I do a little handshake or, smile. Come on in, have a sit down. I'm going to be with you in just a couple minutes.
Do you guide the person to the chair or do you lead the person to the chair?
I'll guide them right over here. Or if because it's in my studio, I will, I'll be like, hey, come here. I'm going to sit you down. I have a separate chair. You're going to sit in the comfy chair for a little while, make it, and it always makes them happy.
If you're in a salon space where you have to walk a little bit of a distance to your chair, guide the person. Okay. put one hand put one hand up like this, where I mean, don't grab them and start pushing them, but just kind of put like one hand up where it's like you're not going past this anymore, and then with your other hand just kind of present them. We're going to start going this way, and you can either walk alongside them side by side, or you could be a half step behind, let them lead. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And you're just kind of guiding them along to the chair or to wherever you want them to end up for the moment.
And then
I personally always offer a beverage of some sort. We have a couple of different options at the salon that I'm at.
that in my studio, if it's a new client, I and even my existings, I shouldn't say that. I'm always like, hey, coffee, or do you want a water bottle or something like that, and a lot of times they all come in with their giant cups anyway.
Even if I see somebody with a giant cup, I'll still say, "Are you good?" I see
Right.
you have your little tumbler thing or your
Right.
gallon jug.
Can I freshen that
Are
up
you
for
good
you?
with that, or do you want something else?
Right. Right.
It's
Right.
just trying to be gracious, trying to make the person feel welcome.
And
Initially, you want somebody to feel welcome. They have stepped into your space. They
right.
are no longer outside in the world. They are now inside, and they are in your space. To create as much of a nurturing environment as possible, this simple smile, simple offering of something shows the person that you are there to take care of them, and they are in good hands.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
the other way. Hold on, real
Mm.
quick story on that. So I had a client that worked for Ghirardelli chocolate,
Oh, cool.
and she brought me in all these little like Ghirardelli, they're individually wrapped Ghirardelli chocolates. So for the longest time, I had this jar, and I haven't seen her in a little bit, and I've yet to refill it. And now my client's like, "Where's the chocolate?"
Ah, they get used to it.
So yeah, but once again, it's the little things that people pay attention to.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Okay,
They
now
really
finish your
matter.
thought now that I sidetracked you.
No, no, not at all. It's these little things that all build up into the full
Experience.
into the full experience. So now at your station, how you have your state now you've sat them in your chair. How you have your station set up sends a lot of signals. If you've got all the crap from your last client there, that's a hot mess going on, man. That does not send signal like you're busy. Somebody once told me, "Oh, a messy work area shows that you're busy, and everybody can see that you're busy."
No, it
And
doesn't.
my response was, "It shows everybody that you're too freaking lazy to pick up after yourself. You're a freaking slob." And then we got into it with each other and whatever. That different story for a different day. But if you have your station set up the way you want it, the way you want to guide the client into what you want to be talking about, it's going to send proper signals. Some stylists believe that a clean, clear station is the best way to do it.
I agree.
And you agree with that. And that's
Mhm.
okay. I believe that you should have your station set up with multiple things, with not a lot of room, only very specific small amount of room. That amount of open space should be for their purse or their wallet. If it's a dude, their wallet and their phone. Okay. So on my particular station, on the mirror, I have a bunch of hooks attached to the mirror, and that's all my color rings, my swatch rings for hair extensions, for hair color, for wefts, and for toners too, for the color line. So I have it on each side. I have hair extensions on one side. I've got the color on the opposite side. That's already sending the signal to say, I deal a lot with color. I have all these swatches. I deal a lot with color. On the countertop itself, I have all my brushes laid out. I hate doing blow dries, but I have every single round brush and paddle brush laid out. I got this from another stylist. I have a clean bleach white towel, not stained from hair color cleaning up and stuff like that. clean bleach white towel, and I have my shears laid out across it. That is showing, like going to the dentist or to the doctor, you've got all your utensils. You are going to be performing something. Okay, you're prepped for surgery. You're ready to go. Obviously, you got your barbicide jar. All your combs are in there. So that just shows that you're sanitary. Okay, fine. But then I also have my clips. I have 4 metal duckbill clips. I have 4 alligator clips. And I have 4 pin clips. The little roller
Mhm.
pin,
Pin curl clips. Yeah.
pin curl clips. I have 4 of those, 4 of those, 4 of those. And they're in order: small, medium, the metal, medium, and then the alligator clips. I've got all of those. That set of 12 clips laid out as well too. I have my blow dryer, I have my flat iron, and I have my extension machine sitting on there as well too. And they are all perfectly. Let me tell you, bro, it's annoying. I have to reset that whole presentation every single time before my next client. And when you're running behind, yeah, let me tell you, I'm starting to chuck things around trying to get it organized. It's annoying to have that much crap set up every single time ready to go. So the only room that's left on my station is a square space, maybe this much left. I even I drilled a hook into the side of my station so they can hang their purses. I thought that was a genius idea at first, until I realized some people just have what are they called? Coin wallets or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, not
Yeah.
everybody has a purse. So I start leaving like a little square section on my station so they can put their purse, set it down on top, so it's not laying in the floor. Okay. And then I've got my roller cart, and on my roller cart, I've got my sectioning combs. I've got all my other extra supplies, my remover tools, remover solution for hair. I got a bunch of my hair extension stuff on there. So I've got a lot of stuff going on. That already sets up that this is what we are discussing. We're down to business over here.
Mhm.
Talk about, since you like a clean station, what is the importance of having what does a clean station really dictate being clean? What does that look like?
I wipe my station down in between every client because no one wants to see other people's hair or what have you, whatever was going on. I also have a little hand vacuum where I vacuum out the crook, it's a little one. I got it on Amazon. And I just quick do the like in the arms of the chair,
Okay.
and just do a quick wipe down on my station because I have the front of my station is glass, and it's just this piece of level glass. So I bought 2 of these rubber mats. They're little rubber mats for them to put their drink on, or for them to put their phones on so it won't slide on the glass. I have the eyeglass covers are right there for them. And I have a little dish. It's a little shallow dish that they can put their earrings in.
Okay.
All right. And then on the upper parts of my station, my license, all that stuff, that's more, and also whatever product that I really am in love with at this moment, one sits right there.
Oh, you have a little shelf for
Yeah,
your
yeah.
yeah.
My shelf is here, and then maybe about 6 inches up or two other parts of the station on the other side. But
Nice.
and I have a bunch of drawers, and all my drawers are where all my tools are. I vacuum those out every week, and everything's lined up in there. So as I've done using it, I put it back in. And I just got shelf liner, the rubber shelf liner stuff that I line those drawers with. And then on my rolly cart is where like all my color stuff is, things that I may need, barrier cream, things like that. It's all lined up. I do a quick wipe. It takes literally a minute and a half, but it shows you care, which means you're showing you care, which means they're looking at you going, okay, this person's going to care about me, and then I have in the bottom, I have a big thick drawer in the bottom. That's where I keep my capes. So I pull out a fresh cape, and it's just the more organized you are, the better it feels when you do run behind, because we all run behind, don't I? And the fact that things are exactly where they should be, where to go get them. Does that make sense?
Makes 100%, especially when you're This was a great advice given. The best way to rush is to take your time.
Yep.
Because then you don't skip a step mistakenly, and then you got to go back and waste time redoing something.
Yep. Funny story, and I readily admit this. One of my 30-year clients, she's great. She's just as sarcastic as, it's basically just smart aleck comments back and forth during her service. And I was running behind 2 Saturdays ago. I was behind. And so she sits down and we do the consult. I always do a quick consultation with everybody. And I start applying her color, and I broke her head up into 4 sections. I do this section, I do the back section. I do this section. And then I spin her around. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to put you over in this chair. She goes, what are you doing? And I go, what do you mean, what am I doing? She goes, you only did 3/4 of my head. What about this? And I was like, oh, yeah.
I've done that. I'll admit I've forgotten the last quarter panel.
And I just stood there for a second and I'm like, God, I'm such a knucklehead.
You would?
Because I was in the weeds, and you get that, for lack of a better term, that battle brain, and I'm like, oh, sorry, Jeannie, sit back down.
Because you're thinking about every other client but the one in the chair right now, right?
I was already formulating my next one.
Yeah.
And so now for the rest of the service, because then I had to do a color lock and smooth on her. For the rest of the service, I had to get abused saying, make sure you don't miss any spots.
And you got to take it gracefully.
Take it.
You got to roll with that.
Look, guys, I took it like a champ, okay? But the more organized you are, the better your day is going to be, and the better you look to people. Isn't it better? No one wants to walk into a station that looks like, a bunch of squirrels had a frat party on it. I worked with someone for a long time where there was literally this much room on their station. There was so many tchotchkes and things that she never even really touched. And then she would complain about when she had to dust her station, but it was, I get a couple personal things on your station. I do have a picture of the poor woman that holds my leash on my station. But as far as overloading it with personal stuff, there's no need for that. There really isn't. But I like a clean, organized station where I know where everything is. And, like you said, when I go to the dentist and they have the little tray thing that comes and I see all the implements of pain that he's got on there. It is slightly comforting that he's organized. He's not rummaging through drawers looking for a drill.
Can you imagine? Where's that pick? I'm gonna jam down your freaking throat,
Yeah. He's clicking the battery into his cordless drill. But it's the same thing. It's the same.
All right. Thing. So now you've got the person sat. You've got everything set up. Now you got to start talking. Okay. What I like to do is I have a small paddle brush. It fits in the palm of my hand. It's a very small paddle brush. What I'll do is I will, if the person's hair is in a ponytail, I'll ask them to pull their ponytail. Yes, I can pull it out. That's not a problem. But I want to see how they do it. I want to see if they tilt their head over and they just rip the ponytail out. I want to see if they're actually holding it nicely and releasing it. I want to see, it's a trick. I want to see how do they normally deal with themselves and how are they maintaining their hair at home. It's a total mind trick without them realizing that we're doing it. So I just asked them kindly to please pull the ponytail out and let their hair drop. Okay, now their hair is dropped. What I'll do is I'll push all their hair forward into their front and into their face. And then I'll simply say this. I'm going to brush through your hair a little bit. Tell me, What's going on? What's your story? What's going on with your hair? That's all I'll say, and I will shut up. And before I start brushing through their hair, I'll watch and see. By pushing it forward, that's another psychological test. Do they immediately start pushing it back? That tells me they want face framing. Do not leave hair in the front. If they start pulling it forward and trying to sort it all out, then that tells me they cannot feel bare up front. They need something up front. It automatically lets you know what to do with the style, with the color accenting. Leave it darker, leave it lighter, whatever. Okay. If they start trying to pick their hair up, then you know that person requires volume because they feel flat. As soon as you tell somebody, tell me your story, what's going on with your hair, they will subconsciously start telling you through their body language before spoken words come out. And that is why you need to shut up. That's why you need to just observe. Don't help, just observe. As soon as they're done touching themselves and they start talking, that's when I'll pull all their hair back and I'll start sectioning it and I'll start brushing through. Section, brushing through. If it's necessary to look at them, depending on, you're listening to the conversation. So sometimes you should make eye contact with them depending on what they're saying, certain things, and you should give them a slight nod of encouragement or acknowledgement. Or sometimes as they're talking, just focus on looking at the scalp and just brushing through the hair. What you're doing is multiple things. You're feeling texture, density, porosity. You're trying to get a read on what that hair feels like while you've got it in your hand. As you're brushing through, you're checking tensile strength. You're getting a feel for how the hair's cowlicks, movement. You're looking at the scalp. Is it dry? Is it oily? Has it been washed? Is it grown out? How much is it grown out? What is happening? There's a lot of things that you are observing during that time. You're looking at the hairline. You're looking around the hairline, the perimeter. You're looking at the cowlick. You're looking at the crown. You're looking, as you're brushing through everywhere. Okay. And this is all happening while they are talking and you are just listening. All right. You could throw in a very quick question for clarification purposes, but then let it go. Let them talk. When they're done talking, now it's your turn to talk. Before I get into your turn to talk, how do you do anything similar to that, or how do you handle when they first initially, sit down?
It's almost the same exact. You and I do almost the same exact thing. If their hair is tied back, the first thing I do is I make a little bit of a joke and I say, hey, could you undo your hair bondage here? Because I want to see how they pull. First off, I've looked at what they're tying their hair back with. That's very important. And then I watch how they remove it. And if they just rip it out, that tells me a lot of things. Okay. And then I do almost the same thing. I bring all their hair forward. Just like you said, and I watch what they do with it. And then same thing. What's going on? What do you tell me about your hair? And as they're talking, I'm listening. My mouth is shut unless they ask me for me personally, they ask unless they ask me a direct question. And then I go through their hair. I go through their hair with my small paddle brush too. And I'm looking, once again, texture, density, porosity. I'm also looking at their scalp, looking for abrasions, things like that. And I'm looking to see if it's an existing client, I'm looking to see how that color did last time. Okay. And see if there's any tweaking that we need to do. And once again, like you said, this is all going on, at the same time. And then I will ask them if I have questions, it's always open-ended. It is never a yes/no question. It is always an open-ended question where I can get a little bit of a dissertation back from them. And then once again, that's the first time I check in with them about their at-home regimen. That's the first time I check in with them of shampoo, conditioner, styling products, with it being so warm here lately, people are still complaining about frizz and things like that because it's been warm and humid. we talk, once again, I'm setting myself up for later on down the line when we have the true product talk. And it just gets their mind in, and it's always questions about their hair. Anything that goes on in the time they're with me, brief conversations about this or that, but it's all about their hair. It's all about them. It's not about me. It's not about what I think of Taylor Swift or whatever. Okay. That's my clients know that, though, that I have no, what's the term? I don't, all those people, Taylor Swift, the Kardashians and stuff.
Celebrity stuff.
Pop culture. I know nothing about pop culture. Even if I did, I wouldn't tell them anyway. Because it's not part of the service. When my doctor comes in and he's snapping a rubber glove on, I really don't want to be talking about the Bears game with him. Okay.
You are obsessed with doctors. I don't even you and doctors. So now this is all happening when they first sit down.
Right.
Sometimes clients will say, I have a picture, and I'll kindly say to them, let's put a pin on that picture for the moment, and we'll circle back around to it. I just need you to describe with your words, what is going on, Okay. So then after you've brushed through everything, what I'll do is I'll turn the chair sideways away from the mirror, and I have another chair next to my station. I used to have a stool, so now I have a chair. And what I'll do is I'll turn the chair away from the mirror so they can't look in the mirror anymore. I'll actually go sit down on that chair next to it, and I'll pretend like I'm pulling it in closer. I'm moving it like this much. I'm not really pulling it in closer, but I pretend like I'm pulling it in because I want to sit down and I want to be level with them. Mm-hmm. And now it's a luncheon. Now it's just a hangout. Okay. It's a social visit. Yeah. Show me that picture. Let's see what you got going on. And I'll do mirroring, meaning if they're leaned back in the chair, I'll lean back in the chair myself. If they're sitting up straight, I'll sit up straight with them. Whatever they're doing, I will engage in that same behavior. And then when they show me their picture, that's what I'll start talking to them. And I'll start asking them questions. I won't say, yes, I can do that. I'll always say, my first initial response usually goes like this. Wow, that's a pretty cool picture. What is it about this picture that inspired you? They love the color. They love the girl. They love the hair. They love the curl. They're always going to say something because it's not the picture itself. Okay. It's something about the picture that initiated or instigated some kind of feeling of connection with that image. That's really what that is. And that's what you're chasing after. You need to discover what that is right there. That's what you got to zero in on. The best way to break down somebody's walls is to let them into yours. Mm-hmm. And that's how you do it. You sit down with them and it's face to face. You make an eye contact and now you are acknowledging their presence. And by mirroring their behavior, you're showing them that you are like-minded in their behavior. There's this book that's called Super Communicator. They had this famous, very, very famous hostage negotiator guy. And they were interviewing him and they said, what is your trick? And he goes, you know what? It's hard to explain it. Let me just show you. He was in a room full of scientists and researchers. And within the first 2 minutes, he had everybody engaged. It was supposed to be a short 15-minute initial meeting. It went for an hour. And at the end of the hour, every single person in the room felt like a team they had never met. This was like the welcome thing for everybody to do introductions. Okay. That's how you do it. You get everybody together, you get yourselves together, and you start having that conversation. And that's where you really be able to connect with them. You're really good at doing that part of it because your tone of voice is really, you're like a siren. Singing the pirate's lullaby. See,
I do almost the same thing, except I have a little wheelie stool, and I'll bring it around, and depending on their posture, I mimic their posture. So if they're kick back and relax, I'll bring my stool around and I'll just kind of lean against my station like we're having it all depends on their posture. And I do the same thing with the picture. I'm a little more direct with the picture. I'm like, because I'll ask them flat out, I go, what do you like about this picture? You know, and oh, look how pretty she is. Well, I always tell my client, well, you're pretty too, but what about the hair? Let's talk about the hair. And sometimes I'll just cover up the face. That's the old trick. I said, tell me about this hair. What draws your eye to this hair? Because I want to know where their head's at. That's usually brings a lot of answers for where we want to be. Where they want to be, and then you can tell them where you can go because you've already looked at the hair. How far, after feeling the hair will tell you what's going on with it and how far you can actually take it. Oh, and I think that's a great way. But once again, is coming around to the front of them and making that personal connection where you do a lot of mirroring with them, but also you've sat down and now we're talking. It's not just clinical, here, let me slap this goo on your head, or let me get my shears and all right, pay your bill, see you later. It's not that. It is all about that interpersonal service. And what we do is a very personal service.
It really is. So now you've made a decision. You've understood what they said. You understand what they have. And now you've discovered what they're trying to achieve. Now it's time to deliver. Now it's time to bring it all home. In my personal opinion, you should always give them two options. I don't care if it's a new client. I don't care if it's an existing client. In my personal opinion, I think especially when it's an existing client, it's ever even more important to give them multiple options each and every time. And this is where I came up with my little thing about the seasonal trends, their own personalized seasonal trends. I, for my own sake, hate repeating things. That's just my little gripe. It's a personal hang up of mine. But when it comes to clients, by the time you do their hair this time, by the time you see them one or two more times, you're moving into another season. It's been 2-3 months by then. You should change their formula, even by a half a shade. Even you should change the layers slightly. Even you should comb their hair slightly different. Just whatever it is. You should do something slightly different. I don't care what that slightly different is.
Right.
And so that's what I do. Oh, by the second or third time, when you're ready to change them, I give them that choice. It sounds a little bit like this. I go, hey, do you want to enjoy your spring, look one more time? Or should we start transitioning you into your summer look?
Right.
Which one would you rather do? Oh, I want to start transitioning into my summer look. Okay. With your summer look, you want to do the same thing like last season, and then hit them with something else.
Right.
Or I'll say, last season we did this. I have to make an adjustment for what we've been doing lately with your hair. We're going to go this direction or this direction. And I'll kind of guide them along to where I want them to go. Okay. Right. And then same thing from summer into fall, same thing from fall into winter, same thing from winter back into spring. You're always, always, always changing them up with something. And like I said, it could be extreme, it could be subtle, it doesn't matter. You're always keeping them updated.
Right.
It does two main things for you, but it actually does other multiple things for you simultaneously as well. Unfortunately, we can't beat Papa Time. You will get more gray. You will get thinner. You will lose hair. You will shed. Your hair will change. And so it gives us the perfect excuse to not be beholden to the same exact formula and haircut and style every single time to produce the same look every single time. It only allows us or puts us in the realm of, at best, trying to get consistency in the result rather than perfect every single time result. being a perfectionist, in my opinion, in this industry is the worst mentality to have. Because in trying to reach perfection, you're going to miss your target 10 out of 10 times. And you're always going to be chasing that unicorn, which you're never going to catch.
Right.
You know, so that does that. That's the one major bonus to us. To the client, the second major bonus is they're always getting something new and something fresh, at least in their mind.
Right.
Which means you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on in their best interest.
Right.
So when they are targeted by some other advert, whether it's their friend telling them about their stylist, about a new salon advertising, or just something they see on TV, or on their phone, they're going to remember you at top of mind as their stylist. And they're going to say, my stylist does that for me all the time anyways. Oh, I heard my stylist talk about something similar to this. This is awesome. I'm in the right place. I don't need to switch and change. So give them choice, go over the price, remind them of the cost each and every time, especially with existing clients. If you remind them of the cost each and every time, they're always used to talking about the price.
Right.
So then when it comes time to price change, and if and when that time comes, it's not as burdensome or as cumbersome of a conversation. It's not as awkward because you're always talking about price.
Right.
And damn it, do things. One time, add on a service and charge a couple of bucks more. One time, don't do an add-on service and charge them the same price, the base price. I don't know, for their birthday, for Christmas, for something. Give them a discount once a year or twice a year or something like that. The point is, if they're always the same price every single time, then when you go to raise your price, or if you have to raise your price, it's going to be, you're going to get resistance.
Mm-hmm.
If your price is never the same 2 times or 3 times, every second time, third time, the price is slightly higher, slightly lower, they're used to fluctuating prices. So when you go to raise your price, it's going to be within that range of fluctuation anyhow. So then when it comes to inflation, and don't be like, hey, next time, we're keeping your price this time, but next time your price is going to increase. Give them a year notice or a 6-month notice that your price is going to increase.
Yeah.
Whether you do it as a sign on your mirror or whether you just start complaining about inflation nonstop for the next 3 visits that they're coming in, for 6 months, you're just complaining about how expensive everything is and how you're sick and tired of everything going up. And it's like, does that mean I have to raise my prices too? You start planting that little seed verbally. I don't care how you do it, but you got to do it. That conversation has to be had.
Right.
How do you drive it home?
Along the you got me going on another thought process with prices, and that's a subject for another day. But I always repeat to them 3 times what we're gonna do, and I do mention the price at least twice during our service. And I try to be as subtle with it. I don't like beating people over the head with it. But if it is, and especially if for me, if it's a corrective color or it's something way outside the ordinary, you got to have that discussion. You take your car into the dealership to get it fixed and you call them about it. You always ask them, how much is it? And they don't blink twice about telling you how many thousands of dollars it is to change the oil in your car.
And they list out every service they had to do. They justify it. They itemize the hell out of it.
100%. And I'll do this. I do the same thing. To really bring it home with them though is I always repeat what we're going to do and why we're going to do it. Just so that we're both in agreement about it. And once again, that gives you another opportunity to manage expectations. I am a big proponent of managing expectations. And especially if it's the first time we're doing something. I had a client who was a was doing a keratin treatment, a certain keratin treatment, and it just wasn't working on her hair anymore. It really wasn't. And I said, hey, I have this new vegan product. Would you like to try it? And I gave her all the lists of, and she goes, yeah, that's great. Let's try it. And through the whole process, I mentioned it twice, how much this was and how this was a little more labor intensive than, you know what I mean? Once again, managing expectations. And after we were done, she was feeling her hair and she goes, this company better never go out of business because my hair has never felt like this. And then one of the best parts about them being able to Zelle and Venmo and stuff like that, besides the fact that we have to own up to it, but she was very grateful. Let's just put it that way.
She was generous.
She was generous. That's the word. Thank you. But just to take it home, and we're almost out of time here. As usual, you and I could go for hours talking. I think that being that open communication with your clients, starting with the consultation, during the whole service, and then to close the service out with communicating and then talking to them about what's coming up next for them and creating excitement for their next visit. And especially now, I know, hey guys, I know it's only September, but I've already started talking to my clients about their holiday appointments.
Mm-hmm.
And getting them pre-booked. Let's book this out so you have the best looking hair for your holiday party or for when your mother-in-law comes into town or blah, blah, whatever's going on. I'm already started that, and I'm already booking up for the month of November and December. So
there's always a holiday upcoming, whether it's a Hallmark holiday or an actual proper holiday. Matter. There's always something there's always a benchmark on the calendar coming up. And if you refer to it that way, it's easier than 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever X amount of weeks out. Okay. Because it always gives them an excuse, whether they care or not. They have to be mindful that some event is coming up, and everybody always wants to be ready for an event to some degree.
Yep.
So that's all our best practices, tips and tricks, and our advice on how to be doing a better consultation than you're doing. Share with us some of the tips that you got for your consultation and what makes you feel good about doing it.
Right.
And thank you all for watching. We'll catch you all next week.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having me.